answers. It was just a time to smile. But my dear friends, it's both. It's this openness to the transformation that occurs. And I'm going to talk more about that in just a moment. But the transformation is absolutely brutal and thorough. Brutal in a way that sometimes you wished you had died in the middle of the night without pain. Brutal, it comes over every part of you. Enlightenment isn't about just having a little better human life, but enlightenment will get you a better human life. But you can't put the better human life first, but so many on the spiritual path actually do. So many who I've worked with in the past, in the mystery schools, ones who have been my students, and even the ones who have allowed their enlightenment, have said that it was all about the enlightenment, have said that nothing mattered more than their enlightenment, but yet their everyday actions, and their thoughts, and their choices, probably choices being first, were not about enlightenment. They were about really just trying to have a little better human life. And this sets up a tremendous conflict, a huge conflict that each and every one of you are facing in your everyday lives. You say you want enlightenment. Most of you don't even know what enlightenment is. Not from up here, but you know it from in here. But you say you want enlightenment. But yet the day-to-day actions and choices are really about just a little better human life. You feel it so deeply, this thing called enlightenment, but you sell out so easily for this thing called a little better human life. Every one of you knows exactly what I'm talking about. Every one of you knows the contradiction that you live within. No doubt. Today we're here to let it be okay to have that contradiction. It's natural. No sense in trying to fight it anymore. Tell yourself that you're doing a bad job with this thing called enlightenment. Wonder where you're going to get the next new message that's going to put it all together. My dear friends, it's natural. This whole conflict between a better human life and true enlightenment, the whole conflict between what is happening for each and every one of you, a transformation of the truest and the deepest sense. It is happening for every one of you here, watching online, watching later, no doubt about it. And also this tendency to sell out to a better human life. So today, one of the things I'm asking of each and every one of you is to be okay with that. To be absolutely, perfectly okay with that. This thing of enlightenment, as good as it sounds, is so brutal, so unforgiving in every way. The moment that you have the realization of your awakening, the moment that all that whole transformation and realization starts, it will go in to every part of you, uncover every deception, every macchio, every limitation, every thing that is held in an unnatural state of consciousness. You're going to resist it. You're going to hold on to things. You're going to say that you're spiritual, think that you're spiritual, and it's going to come along and show you in the most brutal way that you're not. Because spiritual itself is one of the very things that will keep you from enlightenment. Absolutely. this thing of enlightenment, it doesn't define itself, it doesn't know itself as being brutal. It knows itself as being compassionate. It knows itself, this enlightenment, this realization, it knows itself of cleansing all that dirt and grease and tar and accumulated junk from your life. And there's that part of you that's going to try to hold on to it. That part of you that's going to try for a better human life. That part of you that at one point is saying, I want enlightenment, I'll die for enlightenment, but the other part is clinging on to an identity that is not real. Not real meaning that it's false. Not false, it's limited. It's not real because it's not the whole thing. It's not real when you're just trying to focus on happy spiritual times, on joy and peace to the world, because it's not the whole thing. The whole thing is also the agony and the profundity and the pain and the realization and the nothingness all at the same time. And the enlightenment, the I amness, this wave of, it's actually wave after wave of enlightenment that comes in, is going to keep coming in. It's going to keep in an unrelenting way until you are released from the limitations of consciousness. Yeah, well, you say that now, all right, but let me give an example with a story from my upcoming worldwide smash hit success, Memoirs of a Master, yet to be published, but in a very competitive race with Cauldre. So it will be a smash hit because these are stories about you. They're all based in truth, based on you and the characters that you are. So let's tell a story. Let's have the audience lights down so you can sit back and relax. Even feel free to fall asleep as you enjoy this story from Memoirs of a Master. Let's take a good deep breath together. The student lay in his bed after perhaps the worst period ever of his life. He had 21 days of unrelenting illness, mental chaos, confusion, hopelessness, and generally not knowing what to do, where he was. During these 21 days, he was totally alone by himself and for the most part not even able to feed himself. He was in such a state of chaos. It was like it started out with his physical body getting ill, thinking that he had perhaps a cold or flu, but none of the symptoms seemed to match. It was all confusion. He didn't want to go to a doctor because he knew from previous experience that very few who were in the healthcare industry really understood what was going on with one who is going through their awakening and into their enlightenment. So he laid in bed for these 21 days, never sure whether he was dreaming or awake, which one was real and which one wasn't. It was a horrific experience, having to face himself in the darkest and the worst ways that he could possibly imagine, all while his body was going through a state of great pain, oftentimes profuse sweating, oftentimes feeling so cold that no blankets or fires could relieve his deep, deep inner physical agony. It was the very, very worst of times, and there were times when he wished he was just taken, when he was just released from the physical body, times that he cussed and cursed the very fact that he had ever thought about awakening or ever pursued any spiritual interest whatsoever. For now, in these 21 days of great physical and mental agony, none of the words he had ever heard or read or been taught by any teachers made sense or could possibly fix the situation he was in. Patrick, the student who was laid in bed for this 21 days, was alone and miserable. At the end of the 21 days, he started to come out of this awful, awful darkness that he had been in, still unsure of who he was or what had taken place. He was filled with doubts, he was filled with uncertainty, and still with a lot of conflict. But he could feel that something had shifted in these 3 weeks. Something had changed. Suddenly, the master appeared in front of him. Patrick, the student, thought for a moment, I really don't like this. The master just suddenly appearing. I didn't hear footsteps. He didn't knock at the door or announce himself. And in my state and condition, I don't even know if he's actually there physically or not. But another part of him was relieved that the master was there. There was some return to what you would call normalcy, some return to something he could identify with. And the fact that the master was there meant he had either come through this very difficult period or he was dead. He said out loud, "Dear Master, I felt like I died. Did I?" The master took a deep breath and looked down at the bed where Patrick was laying, and for a moment felt a bit of sadness as he remembered his own very challenging and difficult times. Just like this, being totally ripped apart in every way, being lost and confused and feeling like he had been in his hell. The master looked down at Patrick and said, "No, my friend, you are not dead. You are very much alive. No, my friend Patrick, you could say that before this experience, before this is when you were truly dead. You were living in such limitation. You were living in a state of fear. You were living in a state of not realizing the true I am." And that to me is more dead than simply letting go of the physical body. But no, my dear friend Patrick, you have come through this and you are very, very much alive. Patrick took a deep breath and felt a great relief come over him, knowing that he was indeed still alive. He had endured these very difficult 21 days. Patrick said to the master, "Master, will this be the last time I ever experience this unrelenting and punishing chaos in my body and my mind?" The master took a deep breath and said, "Patrick, no, it's not the last time. Even a master, even an ascended master, will still go through periods like this. It's a cleansing. It's a releasing. Because when you are associated with the things of earth, when you are associated with yourself as a human and other human beings, you're always going to accumulate this grease and this tar and the dirt and the imbalances of the vibrational state. Because truly living in the human state, truly living in this place you call earth, is unnatural. It's an amazing experience, but it's not natural. And when you embed yourself and you embody yourself in it, you're always going to be picking up the imbalances, the dirt and the grease of life. So you will go through this, but the good thing is that in the future, you're going to go through it more as the observer. You won't be so intimately involved, and you won't feel that the question of whether you'll come through it. You'll already know that you're going to come through it. Yes, the body might get sick, and yes, there might be times the mind is confused. But as the observer, as the master, you'll realize that you've already come through it. There's no question about will it work out or not. That question is already answered. Yes, it did work out. Then it's just about allowing that very natural process to take place, that cleansing and that renewing. Patrick said to the master, but isn't this something that I can do in another realm or another dimension? Why is it something that has to be here in this dimension and therefore so difficult? And the master said back to Patrick, because you're accumulating it here. You're going through the experiences here. So it's not like you can take these off into another dimension to cleanse yourself. You have to do it from within. But again, remember, dear Patrick, that as you go through these experiences again in the future, that you're going to be the observer. See, here in what you just went through in these 21 days, you weren't the observer, you were, perhaps you would say, the victim. You were so deep into it that you couldn't see that you had already come through it. You were so into the experience of the pain and the doubt and the fear that you couldn't see that it was indeed just a time of rejuvenation and cleansing. Your doubts clouded your true thoughts, your true knowingness and your I am, to the point that you forgot about who you were and you forgot about your own I am, Patrick. And that will not happen again. Patrick took a deep breath of relief to know that he would never have to go through that level of doubt and anguish again. As he took a deep breath, he thought about his next question for the master. He said to the master, so who am I now? What will I be now that I've gone through this deepest, most unforgiving and relentless transformation? Who will I be now? And the master thought for a moment, remembering back on his own time when he asked this very, very question. What's going to happen next? Now that the old identity has been totally pulverized, now that any connection with the old self has been totally disconnected, what happens next? The master smiled, remembering when he, a long time ago, had asked this of his master. He took a deep breath and he said, Patrick, you tried so much to hold on to your old identity, in spite of saying that you were on the spiritual path, in spite of the fact that you said you were choosing enlightenment. Every time enlightenment came to you, or tried to come to you, every time true realization stood right in front of you, you kept on holding on to the old identity. The old identity was limited. The old identity was not what you would call asleep or unawakened. It was just highly limited. You tried so hard to make this old identity the thing that would be enlightened. You tried to make the old Patrick the enlightened being, rather than allowing all of you, all of the I am, to be the enlightened thing. You tried to call it enlightenment while so many times you were just trying to make life a little easier and a little better for Patrick. You were living in the greatest duality that a human can ever live within. The duality of saying on one hand that you wanted freedom and enlightenment and consciousness, while on the other hand doing everything you could to hang on to your limitations, your old identity, your singularity, your old self. Is it no wonder, Patrick, is it no wonder that these past few years of your life have been torturous in so many ways? Is it no wonder that you feel that you are being false to yourself in so many ways? Is it no wonder that you were constantly out of sync with yourself as well as the rest of the world in these past couple of years? Is it no wonder that your energy levels were low? Because your energy was going to the whole effort of trying to protect your old identity, protect it against the outside world, protect it against yourself, protect it against even enlightenment. Your energies were going to all the shields and the walls around you, all the games and the pretending. Therefore, you became exhausted and confused. For so many years now, you've lived in a state of great inner conflict, great battle with yourself, trying to do the right thing, trying to be spiritual, all at the same time, whether you realized it or not, trying to simply embellish your old identity, and it doesn't work. That's why you and others who have come before you have ended up just like this. 21 days, sometimes even longer, but of intense, unrelenting, brutalizing compassion. From here, Patrick, there is no more Patrick, unless you want there to be a Patrick. But you're not singular anymore. You're not limited to one expression or one identity. To begin with, you are nothing. You are, as they say in the ancient language, you are mu, nothing. You do not exist anymore. You've been crushed and torn out of existence. Nothing left. I could go so far as to say that we're not even going to use the word mu, meaning nothingness. Because the moment you even say mu, it becomes something. So you are nothingness. From this moment on, you are nothingness. But nothingness is like silence. Even in silence, it's not quiet. Nothingness is like anything you want to be, no longer attached to just being Patrick, no longer attached to just making a better life for yourself, and certainly never again attached to this thing called enlightenment or spirituality. That was as much of a part of a game for Patrick to fortify and to embellish your old identity as anything. The beauty and the grandness of it is that you did get enlightenment. Ultimately, it came. Ultimately, after all the brutalizing and all the demolishing of the old singularity, you did get it. You become everything in the nothingness. You no longer have to focus on Patrick. You no longer are singular. You are longer just living or just dead. You become all things. You are no longer masculine or feminine. The beauty of this nothingness is that it frees you. It frees you to the true act of consciousness. In other words, dear former Patrick, anything that you choose henceforth, any consciousness that you choose, therefore can act out. You see, before, in this very limited state of Patrick, it wasn't an act. It was the only reality. You didn't view yourself as acting, you viewed yourself as just living. But when one finally allows their realization, it's like freeing your consciousness. And at that moment, you can act. You can be anything you want. You can be a magician, a magi. You can be a simpleton. You can be them together at the same time. You can be an embodied master, and you can be one who is totally unaware that there's anything beyond their field of vision. And you can be both at the same time. You can be abundant and non-abundant at the same time. The beauty is that you've freed yourself now to act in any way you want and to be conscious of it. You see, before you really weren't conscious, you weren't aware. Before, you were so singular that you were unaware of anything other than the survival of Patrick. Now that you are free of that, you can act and be anything that you want. It is truly the act of consciousness, awareness, expressed however you want. That, my dear Patrick, is freedom. That indeed is freedom. Imagine for a moment not being locked into a single definition of yourself. Imagine for a moment no longer being in this great conflict with yourself, but rather free to act, to apply consciousness to anything. Patrick took a deep breath and he said, "So am I enlightened now, dear Master? Am I enlightened?" The Master took a deep breath, smiled and said, "If you choose to be."